Great. I think we can go ahead and get started. Um, Thank you all for joining today. We're really excited to share more about this new award mechanism that was recently announced for the Commonwealth campus faculty and their students. We wanted to hold this webinar to provide more information. We've already had a ton of interest, and we're seeing applications coming in. So super excited. There's still time, and we'll talk about the details of that in a moment. But we do want to provide both the context for the award as well as the structure of it, logistics, and if possible, prompt any questions that y'all might have for after the webinar. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending. First, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Max Crowley. I'm the director of the Evidence to Impact Collaborative within the Social Science Research Institute and the College of Health and Human Development here at University Park. And we also have with us Michael Donovan, the Associate Director of the EIC, and Mary McCauley, the Director of Strategic Initiatives. So with that, I think we can get started, Michael.
Great.
Wonderful. So just one more reminder for anyone who's just joined, the webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the public website for those that would like to look at it after the fact, as well as for those who might not be here today. But we want to very quickly just talk a little bit about who we are at the Evidence to Impact Collaborative here at Penn State and at University Park, what public impact research is, and what the Presidential Strategic Initiative around public impact research is and what it's been doing. And then most specifically, and probably most relevant to many of you who are joining today, talk a little bit more about the Presidential Public Impact Research Awards Program, the timeline, award eligibility, the application process, some of the activities that we're doing to bolster and support the award, as well as some tips for successful nomination and proposal work. Great. So very briefly, we did want to share a little bit more about what the Evidence to Impact Collaborative is. We know that some of y'all are familiar with us and some may not. And so the EIC is a transdisciplinary center focused on the science of scientific impact. And we work to develop this strategic research infrastructure and partnerships to really facilitate public impact from research, from scientific research. In particular, we deeply value community partnerships with different research projects, engaging end users, as well as engaging our trainees here within higher education. So as you'll see, as we talk through the different work that we're doing, you'll see elements of that in the discussion. But we wanted to provide that background. Michael? So in particular, what guides us as a unit within the university is we believe that the scientific community, broadly defined, faculty, staff, trainees, has a responsibility to actively improve the relevance of scientific evidence and demonstrate that the value of scientific evidence broadly. So we consider that the needs of decision makers, of end users, of community partners, of government leaders, of industry partners, in the context of how can we provide the best knowledge, the best insights in that context. And so we also recognize that it's a process of achieving scientific impact. It's not sort of a flip of the coin. It's not a lottery. There's actually things that we can do. And many of you, I know that have already reached out to us, are passionate about doing work that really matters, right, for those within your local communities. And that's what this initiative and ultimately this award is really oriented towards. So the Presidential Strategic Initiative on Public Impact Research is coming out of a larger movement that many of you may be familiar with within higher education. But for those of you that the term public impact research may be unfamiliar, public impact research is a framework that has increasingly been gaining traction, both within members of the Association for Public and Land Grant Universities, as well as within higher education leadership at large, that is focused on recognizing the fundamental societal role of higher education in addressing real world problems. And at a moment when the value proposition and what higher education means is being questioned openly, this sort of has never been more relevant. And so the Public Impact Research Initiative here at campus coming out of the president's office is focused on this fundamental idea that, that research is designed to benefit the public good and solve societal issues is a priority for not only Penn State research, but more broadly for higher education. And most importantly, it focuses on this fundamental idea of collaboration across disciplines, across sectors, but most importantly, with the local communities that we seek to serve. So with these sort of complex challenges that are facing society today, higher education is extremely well placed, right, with our, especially Penn State, with our incredible research infrastructure that spreads across all of the campuses. And we really want to recognize that good work. So broadly, as I mentioned, the APLU definition is focused on this idea of research that benefits the public, right? And so as you'll hear as we talk a little bit more about the award, and really this initiative at large, this is agnostic to a specific disciplinary focus. It's agnostic to the end goal or outcome of the research. It's really about the context in which it happens, right? The benefit to the public from that work. And so, as you might imagine, it's broadly defined, and we intend for both the initiative as well as this award structure to recognize scientific inquiry and scholarship across the board. So a little bit of context around workings here at Penn State as part of the strategic initiative. In particular, as I mentioned, the growing movement around public impact research coming out of the APLU and other areas. Last February, we had the opportunity to work with the White House's Office of Science Technology Policy and Office of Management and Budget to hold a national forum culminating their year of scientific evidence, which was the federal government's effort to enhance and lift up scientific evidence within the federal government and across society at large. In addition, we've had some strategic partnerships with a group at the Pew Charitable Trust, known as the Transforming Evidence Network, and in particular, an interior group called the Transforming Evidence Funders Network. This is a network of funders of research, federal, philanthropic, international funders from across the board. Pretty much every aspect of Penn State's research portfolio has representation within this funders network. And this funders network is focused on transforming their own portfolios towards this public impact research framework, right? And so we have a unique opportunity to recognize and facilitate and support faculty and researchers and our trainees in their scholarship in alignment at a moment when our funding community that we both depend upon and work in partnership with are rethinking how they're funding. So this award structure in particular directly came out of the efforts and learnings of this funders network and our opportunities to engage with them coming out of last year's White House meeting. One thing that's coming up that we're really excited about is the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine have come together in partnership with this funders network to create consensus around the direction of scientific inquiry and research in the scientific enterprise within the United States broadly. There will be a meeting coming up at the end of the semester in DC that will involve both funders, leaders from academia, as well as scientists who study this issue of the science of scientific impact. Our own president, Neeli Benapudi, will be in representation there and will have a leadership role, and we're really excited to support this work. And so this effort, including the award structure we're talking about today, is one of the things that we're excited to feature at that National Academies meeting as we launch a flurry of activities in this space. Michael? So the Presidential Strategic Initiative, as we mentioned, is a new initiative at Penn State to support public impact research. It aims to specifically invest in faculty and students across the university. We're providing awards, seed funding, mentorship, and professional development. And it's ultimately in response to the growing skepticism about the value of higher education and the recognition that there is great work happening already in higher education, already at Penn State, and we want to recognize that, but we also want to lift it up and invest in it. And that's very much what this presidential strategic initiative is about. Finally, just some of the objectives specifically about the awards program as we get into the meat of this is to encourage collaborative research. As we'll talk about, we're seeking to support not just individuals, but teams of faculty and faculty and students across the campuses who are already seeking to solve pressing societal issues. We want to enhance engagement between academia and communities, local business partnerships. This award is very much meant to recognize that work that we already know is happening at the campuses, and we want to recognize what has already occurred and what is already happening. Further, it's about integrating what I think many of us have recognized is the blurring lines between the research enterprise and our education mission here at Penn State. Our students are not only benefit from participation in the research enterprise, but they also are key contributors, right? They themselves are members of many of the communities that we work with, and we have the opportunity to recognize and grow that relationship. And then ultimately, it's key to us to promote inclusivity around these research initiatives, so that we're thinking about broadly what it means to be communities, or what communities means, and how we bring multiple different stakeholders to the table.
Great.
Sorry, Michael, go ahead. Yep.
No, please go ahead.
No, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of continue on, give Max a break from leading the charge here. But again, Michael Donovan, Associate Director of the Evidence to Impact Collaborative. So some of the kind of key activities and much of this information you'll have seen from the RFP that we published and is on our website. We have links to that as well here. Much of it will seem familiar from there. So we really want to give this an opportunity for you to be exposed to this, but also then ask questions and have a discussion. So as Max kind of alluded to already, some of the major strategic activities of this overall award program is aiming to support impact teams. Team science is really motivated in this, interdisciplinary features as well. These research teams would be spread across the Commonwealth campuses and across the Commonwealth in general. We're also looking to continue and further the aim of national and international leadership in higher education in this space. We have, as Max alluded to, the efforts of Dr. Benaputi in leading the President's Council on Public Impact Research with the National Academies. That continues, and this activity will be a key walking of the walk beyond just talking the talk that will be happening in the council. So this aim is to really unite national, international leadership in higher education, as I mentioned. A big piece of this is workforce development as well. So we're working with various partners in federal agencies and Commonwealth agencies, other state agencies, for example, to really grow the pipeline of skilled professionals that can support an evidence-based research, which is much of the bread and butter of what we do in the Evidence to Impact Collaborative. And also, ultimately, this is a scientific research activity. So we're looking to further the scientific inquiry itself and work towards knowledge generation and creation and refinement. So we'll be looking to engage scholars in rethinking the role that research actually has in society, in historical senses, and how this can be explored and grown in the future. So getting down into kind of the details of the actual award program, we're looking to recognize and support teams of 2 to 4 faculty members and their graduate and undergraduate students across the different campuses across the Commonwealth. We're looking to recognize as a key term here, because this is aiming to showcase what is already being done. There's really so much important work that's done across the campuses in various contexts that benefits communities, works with community partners, and co-creates those research agendas. So this is an indication that we're showing that by awarding this PPRA, there's a recognition of this important work being done. The particulars of the finances, which is coming directly from President Bendaputi's office, looks to provide 10,000 for each faculty member. So if up to the four max faculty members of 40,000 in the form of summer support, as well as 3,500 for each student on the team. So there's obviously some growth that can change across the spectrum and size of teams. But really the key here is to try to protect time for Commonwealth faculty to engage in this activity when they may otherwise be unsupported or have a teaching mission that they would be taking on. So that's a key feature of it. I kind of touched on this already a little bit, but we're really looking to build this Commonwealth research capacity and the overall engagement writ large in terms of enhancing capacity for the Commonwealth campuses themselves to take part in this, also to tell the story, to showcase to our Commonwealth government partners and the general population of the Commonwealth that that higher ed is doing a lot of good societal pro-social work that needs to be highlighted. So this is really recognizing some of the meaningful contributions of the Commonwealth campuses and all the faculty that are part of it that you all are representing, and seeking really to elevate the work of the faculty and students doing this effort. A key feature of this, and we can go in a little more detail as we go, but we noted, Max earlier noted the intersection with variety of external partners in this work, especially as it continues to grow on a national and international scale. So one very key partner is the Transforming Evidence Funders Network, which is a component, a network created within the Pew Charitable Trust, and then in that subset of Pew Charitable Trust, the Evidence Project, as mentioned prior. So one big piece of what we're hoping to do here is better align the research agendas of both that's coming out of our communities that you all will be co-creating with your community partners, but also better align that with what the funding community is hoping to achieve in their own goals. So this network represents several hundred funders of various size, from large national level, the National Science Foundation, National Institutes of Health, very big players, to smaller, more philanthropic family foundations along those lines. But the idea is to have this forum that's able to discuss and communicate their goals around impact-oriented work. So one thing that we're hoping to do here is through this program, through the PPIRA, we would be able to support the creation of proposals that effectively would be piloted through this funding mechanism, and then aim for external funding that could be pursued through the larger funders network. So that'll be kind of an ad hoc orientation. We'll kind of approach that as proposals arrive and we discuss the particulars. But we just wanted to note that that's a key feature of this. Some of the specific details here. So we'll aiming to award up to 15 per year with 1 year project period. The timeline, as you've probably seen, the proposal review will begin in earnest on the 1st, and we're looking to close the proposal submission window on April 12th at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And I'll have a slide for that if anyone wants to take a look at take a photo of those details. But we will be reviewing proposals as they arrive. We already have received quite a few, and it's been really exciting to think about the potentials here. So please keep in mind that deadline's fast approaching, as it's now the Ides of March here today. So one thing we want to keep in mind here in terms of expectations for the grantees and awardees, we will have some expectations for progress reporting and some initial data and results coming throughout the period of the year-long period. We can go into more detail on that in the Q&A, exactly what that's going to entail. And just one other note that I believe has been pretty clear, that this is particularly focused to the Commonwealth campus faculty in particular. And we can talk about any further particular questions you all may have in the Q&A portion. You'll see this kind of pulled directly from the RFP. So if please don't scramble to write any notes down, because you can refer back to our website for it. But it just details the proposal process itself, what the proposal is required to include in terms of a methodology plan, the engagement of the student researcher, and what the nature of that engagement would look like. The timeline that would be anticipated, recognizing that challenges can come up, and caveats would be as part of the progress reporting feature. Time usage plan, potential targets for that external funding goal. So that we'll kind of work with you all to co-create that as we go as well, to ensure that there's a good fit. And then really importantly, this letter of support, or kind of sponsorship letter, is a key piece, because one thing we're really trying to do is promote authentic engagement with communities, as opposed to something that could be perceived as extractive or helicoptering in and doing work with a community, and then lacking that really strong relational component. So we are requiring a letter of support or a sponsorship letter of some kind from the community group or partner, which again is broadly defined, that would clearly indicate this desire to enter into this collaboration, and see how this could benefit the two groups. So that's a very important part. That could be as simple as an email. It doesn't have to be some sort of engraved tablet of some kind. So no need to think about that as something onerous. And this is a very important piece, and I might kick this back to Max actually to elaborate on. One really key part of this, in terms of our kind of meta scientific goals around this work, is not just to incentivize and grow this important line of work in the Commonwealth, but also to understand, in terms of philanthropy and in terms of the growth of this kind of work, what is the right fit? What is the right mix that could potentially be scaled in other settings, in other universities, and other environments, that would be a useful, active ingredient that could actually show some goals, some growth in the future.
Thanks,
So
Michael.
I actually want to talk about the
Yeah,
evaluation.
thanks, Michael. So fundamentally, we're really excited because while the awards are 1 year awards, the Office of the President has made a commitment to support this in a multi-year activity to the funders network, and so to our external funders, recognizing their desire to kind of see this public impact research grow here on campus and across the higher education sector. And one of the kind of key stipulations that they're placing in and encouraging is that if we're going to make investments to support public impact research, we need to understand, are we supporting the faculty in the ways that they want and need to be supported? And so one of the things that the EIC has been recruited to do is to help with understanding what your needs are, right? What your experiences are. And then as we think about future cohorts of these awards, make sure that we're learning from that, so that this is something that is, again, sort of as Michael said, we're seeking to not have token engagement with our community partners. We're also seeking for this not to be a token award. We want this to be real, meaningful support that the Commonwealth faculty and your students want. And so there is this evaluation component. We will be doing everything we can to make sure to minimize the burden on y'all, and we're going to be hoping to get open and honest feedback. We'll be providing opportunities for both anonymous and group feedback discussions for those that are interested in providing that. But there will be some minimum, as Michael said, progress reporting and sort of experience-based reporting around how this was or was not useful. And that's a really key element, is that we're in a learning mode. Our external partners and funders are in a learning mode. And so we're really excited to have this be part of the larger initiative. So, Michael, I think we have a few
Great.
more.
Let's continue on here. So, just want to note on a few topics that, and we'll have hopefully a robust discussion around this as well. But just wanted to provide a few kind of indications that we're really looking for as we are assessing these proposals. We're looking to really identify close adherence to the needs of the community partner, in particular in the community that that community partner represents, right? So again, that rejection of a token engagement, inauthentic engagement, we really want to see that there's close alignment with the research team and the community partner for the co-creation of this pilot, this project in general. We're really looking to, as we noted earlier, the lift of team science, recognizing that the world is a very complex thing, and multiple disciplines should be brought to bear. So the interdisciplinary nature is a key feature that we're hoping to promote. And then again, as noted and as required, the student experiential learning piece is a really important piece that we're trying to lift up, recognizing that Penn State has this tripartite mission of including outreach and impact, teaching and research. So we're trying to meld this as much as we can to a common goal. Anything more to note on that, Max? I don't know if there's any other.
No, that's great. I think we can move towards the end. And then I know we've got some questions that we wanted to answer on the call that Mary's put into the chat. We've also received a few other questions as we go. So please feel free to go ahead and add questions as we wrap up and move into the Q&A period. But Michael, let's finish up with deadlines and other aspects.
Yep. Yeah, we just have two more slides, I believe. So as noted earlier, these are kind of the things to note on the calendar, recognizing now it's March 15th. We'll continue to be accepting proposals through April 12th at 5 p.m. This is the email inbox, evidence to impact at psu.edu to send those materials. The rolling basis of the proposal review will begin on the 1st of April. Again, you can reach out to that same email address, evidence to impact at psu.edu for questions. Hopefully, in our ongoing kind of Q&A here in a few moments, we'll answer any outstanding ones. And then, of course, the link there. I know it's a fairly long one. I should have put it into a tiny URL, but the actual link to the RFP itself, which you can also get to from the Penn State News article that came out.
Great.
And the last, yeah, is just opening up. We do have our information here, so I'd want to provide that as well. If you have questions about the PPIRA, the strategic initiative in general, as well as the EIC, please feel free to reach out to us in the future. But we'd love to open it up and kind of address some of the questions here. And I'll leave it on the contact slide if that's all right.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate that. Well, we've got a number of questions that we're excited to get to, and please feel free to continue adding them. I'm going to pick some top general questions first, and then there's some more specific ones, and so we'll work our way down if that's okay with everyone. So some of our first kind of primary questions are, so if the application viewed differently, if it's sent now versus April 1st versus April 12th. So after April 1st, the reviews will be done on a rolling basis. We've selected that date mostly because we're hoping to make the announcement as quickly as possible, because this does involve the opportunity for folks to use this for summer funding, and we want to make sure that for your planning, you have that information. So we will start that review. For those that are come in before the 1st, everything will be reviewed as a batch, but we will not necessarily be looking at things differently. So the ultimate funding decisions will not be made until after the 12th, but we wanted to give people the opportunity to get things in early because we know that the demand is high here. So so Eric, your question on will a budget be required as part of the proposal, and if so, what recommendations do you have? So for that first part of the question, we are we do require a budget. We do not require a particularly like detailed budget, given that the budget itself is sort of already identified for specific activities. We do want to know like who's going to be involved in the team in terms of the students and the faculty involved. So it does not require like a large budget justification or otherwise. If you seek to deviate in terms of the use of the faculty summer funds specifically, so we've had a couple questions around like, could I use those summer funds for a different purpose, right? For, you know, as part of the project. We are open to that, but this element of protected time is sort of a crucial component of sort of as we're looking at this initially. So we would encourage you to think about the value of giving up that protected time. And so, for instance, maybe you already have that protected time to do this work. And so if you can make that case, we're certainly open to entertaining it. There's also, Eric, I saw your question on, is there a cap on the number of students who can be part of a team? So there is no firm cap on the number of students. That being said, we want a strong rationale for the ability of the team to make sure that the students are meaningfully engaged, and so we will be looking at the number of students. So if teams come in with a high number of students, we may only fund some of the student spots based upon the resources available, as well as the rationale provided for why large teams of students or large numbers of students should be involved in the team. Let's see. So, Mary, I think maybe we'll jump to some of the questions that came in earlier, and then we'll come back to the more recent questions. So, there was a question around how are we thinking about impact? How will it be evaluated? Is it money saved, environment saved, lives saved? So all of those, right, certainly can be considered aspects of public impact research. There are also more proximal elements, right, in terms of, you know, small, for instance, process or policy decisions are being made, for instance, within a local community organization. We consider that impact as well. The public impact research framework considers that as well. So we do not expect in a year that you're going to be achieving these, you know, major societal shifts. What is of most interest is showing that there is meaningful, tangible, real-world change, right, and impact that is part of the project, but is not, again, like required even within the year. We want to show movement towards that. And in particular, as Michael mentioned, one of the opportunities that will come with the award is strategic support around connecting and developing the relationships needed to basically provide proposals or field strong proposals to philanthropic and federal sources, in addition to the work that you're already doing. So is it more important? So the second question, is it more important to start in a smaller region or maybe a bigger region? We're agnostic to that. Many folks who will be coming in for this award already have community partnerships, although that is not a requirement. That's why we're including the letter, is so if there's a fledgling or new partnership that you're creating as part of that, that's wonderful. That's why we want the letter. And so there'll be a opportunity to sort of think about that. What's most important is it actionable? Can your team, right, act upon that partnership? And the size and the spread of that, we're not tied to. There is some interest. I know another question asked, you know, if it's a Pennsylvania or not Pennsylvania partnership, or if it's a digital versus in-person partnership. That's really, we again are relatively agnostic to that. There is, so maybe a bit about the review process itself. So the review process will be a peer review process of faculty from the campuses, as well from around the campuses, and multiple reviewers will review your proposal and for the potential for public impact research. As a result, what that looks like is there is some interest in seeing this work happen in Pennsylvania or be relevant to Pennsylvania. So if this work is not happening in Pennsylvania, please tell us about how it could be relevant within the Commonwealth. But otherwise beyond that, there's no sort of strong sentiment around like where or in what format. Digital is fine. Just again, make the case for why that's the best way of working for your project and for your efforts. So Michael shared the proposal template in terms of word counts and those elements. If there's further questions on that, please contact the Evidence Impact. We will be producing a FAQ based on some of these questions that'll be up on the website. So if you think of another question after the webinar, please send it along, because maybe your peers also have that question, and we'll place it on the FAQ page as well as respond to, of course. So do we need to designate a PI for our submission? Yes, we're seeking that there's not necessarily a PI, but there's a contact faculty member on the team. Doesn't necessarily mean they're the sole leader of the team. We're not necessarily seeking to make this hierarchical, but for ease of connection and sort of responsibility, we're very interested in sort of who is going to be your point of contact for this work. There's So in terms of the so what deliverables are to be produced from the research effort? So the primary deliverables that we're interested in are, how are we showing evidence towards being able to support public impact research at the campuses through your impact teams, and part of that is, are you on a path to sustainability by, for instance, seeking to field proposals for external support, right? Which we are very much seeking to invest and support in you doing. So those are kind of the primary deliverables as described in the RFP and other spaces. In terms of the interim deliverables, so as Michael mentioned, there's going to be an opportunity for some communities of practice here. And so we hope to bring impact teams that are working in similar areas across the campuses together. And so we hope to that there's an ongoing dialogue here. As part of the award, we will describe specific sort of interim and final deliverables, progress reporting that's required. Thank you. Okay, so let's switch to some of the Q&A. Sorry, Michael, were you about to add something?
No, we also have Nirmal has raised
Oh,
their hand, so I want to just
great.
recognize that as well. Let's see.
So, Nirmal, I'm not sure if.
I think
Okay,
I
great.
can.
Yep, there you go.
There
Thanks.
we go.
Thanks, Michael.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so I had a question. So, if we plan to conduct the research among Commonwealth students and faculty, which is basically related to the policy associated with Commonwealth campuses, does that count as the community, and do we need letter from these campuses or a campus if we target just one single campus?
Oh,
I
you're on
cannot.
mute.
Yep. Thank you very much for that. And that's an interesting and useful question.
Yeah.
Specific to your work. So I would say that yes, like we're still seeking, some sort of partnership letter. If, for instance, you're engaging with internally with a specific office or department or student organization, whatever that might look like, we're still looking to sort of for evidence of community partnership, even if that community is the higher education community itself. So we've also heard, for instance, from folks that are partnering with like a community college or something like that. So the same idea is that if your work is in the higher education space, then the community partner may be a higher education entity, either sort of an element of Penn State or an external entity, and we are seeking a letter for that.
Okay.
Thanks, Nirmal.
Yeah.
So we've got a few other questions that we wanted to get to. So one question was, can we make this partnership for the letter of support with national labs and get a letter from our research collaborators? So I think that if the work, right, so if you have collaborators that you're already, for instance, working on an engaged research project, a public impact research-oriented project with, we don't require you to get collaborator letters of support. If sort of to Nirmal's point, if like you are doing community engaged work that is around research infrastructure, right, and how research infrastructure, for instance, is being grown or facilitated to have that greater public impact, then if there's, for instance, a collaboration or a coalition that's already working in that space, that would be an appropriate group to get a letter from. So I'm not sure that person's registering is anonymous, so I'm not sure exactly who I'd ask the question. Is it recommended or required that additional funding sources be sought and noted in the proposal. Thanks, Eric, for that question. I think we might have probably already gotten to that a moment ago, but it's not required that you, ahead of the proposal, have sought out additional funding. Although if you are aware of proposals that you'd like to field and would like to be supported on as through this work, we definitely encourage you to put that in your application. It is not a requirement that you have active funding in the space that you're working on. That's one of the opportunities for seeding it. Although it is welcome for those of you that may have more mature community partnerships, and this work is going to both recognize and help elevate and grow that work. If you have funding, that does not count against you. So how is this program different from the new initiative called the Community Engaged Research Award? So I believe that was you're speaking to the award that was announced alongside this award structure. So that award is specifically for students. So for student support, it comes out of a university endowment support for supporting campus students. You are eligible to apply for both. We are coordinating with Margot and others that are part of that award. And so you are eligible to apply for both. We will be in contact through the review process. And so we'll be aware, like if some people are getting that, it will not count against you if you apply for both, or if you are in the running to get one or the other. So they're separate in the sense that it doesn't count against you to go for both, but at the same time, and the other is more student oriented, but this does have a student component. So if you're seeking to, for instance, go for both so that you can grow your student teams, for instance, so that the individual that asked about how large can you go in students, and you'd like to support some of your student team around that, that would be more than appropriate. We'd be excited to see that synergy happen. So great. Let's see.
I think we just have the one left there.
Let's see. I'm looking for it. Michael, do you see it?
Could you please
I'm sorry.
explain
Yep.
a bit about the summer support in particular, the context of how it'd be used, salary versus research expenditure?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So this summer support can be used for supporting you summer salary, right, over during the summer months. So yes, that is something that you're eligible for those on a 9-month, for those on a 12-month. You're also allowed to use that for supporting your salary. You're directly supporting your FTE. As I mentioned earlier in the call, for those that may already have protected time and they're working in this area, they have existing funding, or they've been given protected time by their department, and they'd like to make the case for using these dollars for research expenditures, that is allowable. But we do want to make sure that the faculty teams are going to have the resources, or excuse me, the ability to focus on this work, focus on the community engaged work, focus on the opportunities for engaging with the process of, for instance, fielding a external funding proposal. And is there any limits for the number of proposals submitted by faculty as a PI or co-PI? So if you find yourself in a case where you're being invited or to multiple impact team proposals, that's fine. Again, like this element of making sure you have enough time, right, to commit is certainly key. I think that, we'll look at each proposal separately. And if there is, a lot of cross connection, we may even look for opportunities to put teams in connection and build these kind of communities of practice, as mentioned before. But what we're not seeking is, for instance, for one person to lead and be that point of contact for, multiple proposals. If you're part of a team on one and you're the point of contact on another, that's great. Or even, more than that, that's fine. But the intention here is not for one person to, submit 3 different teams in the lead, because, ultimately, like, we need them to, everyone to focus on like a singular team. So if we are going after, sorry, we have one more question. If we are going after an external public impact grant, could that information be counted as a letter of support? We would love to know that information. And if you have positive indications from the funder, that's also wonderful to include. if you want to include as an addendum, right, for instance, information about the proposal above and beyond the text constraints, because we're really trying to minimize burden, that's also great. It would not supplant, if this was the question, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, it would not supplant the letter of support that we're seeking from a community partner or from an external partner. I do want to speak a little bit more based on this conversation to what we mean by a community partner. And so that can be everything from a local community organization. It can be a local business, right? It could be a national organization, a state-based organization. So it does not have to be a geolocated community partner, and it does not have to, it can be broadly defined. We're looking in particular, so going back to the roots of what public impact research is, we are very much looking for this idea of that there is a need for higher education to have meaningful partnerships that sort of look outward, and then that partnership is not only authentic but durable. And I know that we had the earlier question around like, what if I do work with higher education, and so higher education is the partner? That's of course fine. So great.
Great. Well,
Well,
I think
I know we're
yeah.
coming up on time. So if there's any other questions that you want to ask in this public forum, please feel free. And if there are, but you're also welcome to contact the email on the screen, which will direct you, and we will get back to you as soon as possible with answers. And as mentioned, we'll be working on an FAQ as well. Michael, sorry, apologies. Did you have any last thoughts?
No, not at all. I just want to thank everyone for their time today, and we can give you some time back on your calendars. But please, as Max mentioned, feel free to send a message our way if you have other questions that come up if you choose to submit a proposal, and as you're creating it, if things come up, please let us know. And I put up here again the specific email inbox for this. But you also have our information on the last page of the slides there, where we can look us up in directory as well.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for your time. Anything else, Max?
No, this is great. Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate not only your time today, but considering applying for this. We know that there is incredible work going on out there. We've loved hearing from you already and hearing your stories. And we please encourage you to ask questions and come in. This is very much meant to be a flexible mechanism. And as we described earlier, it's meant to be in service and support of the incredible work you're doing and will do under it. So thank you all, and looking forward to talking more.